Thank you. Okay, we'll have roll call.
Kinney,
Here.
Hufall,
Here.
Brannick,
Here.
Willon,
Here.
Fenor,
Here.
Reamer,
Here.
Busse,
Here.
Anderson. Absent. Vitek,
Here.
Huber,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Ader.
Here.
Mindell,
Here.
Murdig,
Here.
Ellison excused. Trudeau,
Here.
Negro. Laura Negro. Metzinger,
Here.
Campbell,
Here.
Ray excused.
Okay. We'll have a moment of silence and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Huber,
I so move to approve the agenda.
Supervisor Huber makes a motion. Second, Liz?
Second, Frank.
Elizabeth Frantic seconds. Any questions, changes? All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Do we have any? No written? No written. Okay. Anybody in the room for public comment? Anybody online for public comment? Anybody online for public comment? Anyone online for public comment? Hearing none at this time, we'll move to the regular agenda. We need approval of the April 29th, 2025 County Board meeting minutes. Is there a motion, Mr. Pufall?
Motion to approve.
Supervisor Pufall makes a motion. Mr. Passay? No. So, is there a second? Mr. Sindor?
Ron Stender will second.
Ron Sindor seconds. George has a question.
Well, there's a correction.
Correction? Thank you.
Section 5B under presentations, it says that Ms. Snyder and Mr. Luce were reviewing wage study, and it's a space study. Is that correct? It's a space study, not a wage study.
Yeah, you're correct, Mr. Passay.
Okay. So we need the motion and a second to approve the amended or corrected minutes. George?
So moved.
George makes that motion. Is there a second to that? Ron?
Ronald Stender will second.
Mr. Zindor seconds it. So we have a motion and a second to correct the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Resolution R05-2025-1505, support for funding renewal of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Is there a motion?
Yeah, George Busse will move to approve this. This was discussed in the Land Conservation Committee, and it's been a program that's been supported by the state for a long, long time for conservation purposes. So I recommend approval.
Okay, Mr. Supervisor Busse makes a motion. Second, Mr. Kinney?
I'll second.
Mr. Kinney seconds. Questions? So there's a motion and a second to approve the resolution support funding for renewal for Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 4C, proclamation declaring International Dark Sky Week, April 21st to 28th of 2025 in Ashland County. We,
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we know this is already passed. However, the group doing dark skies asked us to still take it up. And this did go through Land Conservation Committee and it was approved after the fact.
is there a motion to approve after the fact? Yes, Mr. Huber,
I'll make a motion to approve the dark sky. decoration.
Supervisor Huber makes a motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Kinney,
I'll second.
Supervisor Kinney makes a second. Any questions, Mr. Kinney?
Well, just as a comment, I'm on the Land and Water Conservation Committee with Mr. Bousset, is this went to that committee first and then came to the board, and just because of the timing, there was that delay. So in the future, if this resolution is asked to be passed again, they just need to get it to Land and Water a few months in advance if they can, so we can approve it as a board by the scheduled date. So
Okay, thank you. Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Motion carried. Item D, Resolution R 05-2025-1506, resolution urging Governor Evers and the Wisconsin Legislature to support the county courts. Is there a motion? Mr. Metzinger.
I make a motion for approval.
Supervisor Metzinger makes a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Vitek. You second. Supervisor Vitek seconds it. Sorry, I used Mr. Any questions? So motion's been made and seconded to approve supporting the county clerk or county courts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carried. E, County Board Supervisors Handbook Update. Are they, go ahead, are they in red?
Yeah, they're in red. All it's doing is changing it's on page 8. All it is doing is changing the rates for breakfast, lunch and dinner to reflect the new reality.
Page 6? Page 6.
Page 8 of the PDF.
Oh, okay. You're right. 8 up on the top, but on the actual page in the thing it's 6.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve changing the rates for meals in the county board handbook? Mr. Vitek,
Marty Vitek, I move we approve the change.
motion made by Supervisor Vitek. Is there a second? Mr. Sindor?
Ron Stendrel, second.
Ron Sindor seconds it. Questions? Yes.
A comment, the dollar amount seems to be conflicting. It says $37 in writing and then in parentheses $60 on page 6.
Miss Clerk?
That was since updated. If you see on the screen.
Oh, on my copy here.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Otherwise, we have a motion and a second to approve the handbook update for the County Board of Supervisors meals. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Aye. And that was opposed.
You're opposed?
Yep.
Okay.
It's 37, but in parentheses 60.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
And-
so
We discovered that.
after the.
We discovered that after the packets went out and I have since updated that. So it is, what's on the screen is what is,
So it's not on the-
Well, it says, the written out amount says 37. But then.
Oh, the
Then in
written-
parentheses, it says 60.
sorry about that.
So our motion is second is approving that we'll update that to from the 37 to the 60. Okay. Good. Thank you. Okay, item F, Resolution R 05-2025-1507, confirming and ratifying the authority of council for Ashland County to add additional defendants to the opioid litigation, including in MDL 2804.
So, well, actually, we'll let's get a first and second, then I'll explain.
Yep, Liz?
Frantic to approve.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Franek. Is there a second? Mr. Pufall?
second it.
Seconded by Supervisor Pufall. Questions or comments from Dan?
Yeah, so this was brought to us by WCA. They're gonna add Optum RX to the lawsuit. And then this resolution allows them, our attorneys, to add other healthcare companies as needed.
Any other questions? Liz?
Yes, do we know a date or a timeline that this opiate funding will be distributed?
This will be a brand new case, so there is no timeline. I can tell you Optum is fighting hard right now.
Thank you. Do we know a percentage that Ashland County would be receiving?
Would be receiving the same percentage, which is like 0.6% of the state's funding.
What did he say?
Supervisor,
0.6% of the whatever Wisconsin gets.
any other questions? All those in favor, what? Hold on. Of whatever that, yeah, we don't know the total dollar yet.
Yeah, Mr. Pufall, we won't know the total dollar amount until the suit is settled or adjudicated. Because we don't know how much Optum's gonna have to pay. So it will be the same percentage as we've gotten through the other settlements.
Okay, there is a motion and a second to approve this resolution for the opioid litigation. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Motion carried. Item G, contract and Northwest Communities is, I'm looking at the wrong one here. Okay. And the Ashland County regarding CDBG grant for Ashland Community Shelter.
So this is just the last stage in the grant we got for the homeless shelter a year ago. So they're finally getting work to do construction. And this is just the agreement, the legal agreement saying we're a pass-through organization and the money goes all to them to do their construction. This has been approved by corporate counsel. In fact, it was written by corporate counsel.
And this is the two-story building we're talking about?
Yes, correct. It's the two-story building, which is supposed to be minimum term housing. That's 1 to 2 years.
Okay, is there a
I'll make a motion to approve.
motion been made?
This is Supervisor
Campbell?
Negro. I can second.
And Supervisor Laura Negro makes a second. Questions? Liz?
Just a comment, just for those that may be listening, that this is a grant. This is not something that the county is funding. It's already funded through the grant. And it's also the only part of used to be the Ash Motel, it's the 2-story units. And like Dan had said, it's a 1 to 2 year lease. It's different than the people that are coming in using the other site. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Other questions? Motion been made and seconded to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carried. Item H, Resolution R 5-2025-1508, resolution supporting greater public accessibility to the David R. Obie Great Lakes Visitor Center. Mr. Messinger?
Before we vote on this, we passed this resolution last year. And I brought it up at the executive committee meeting, about this motion to keep the visitor center open at least during the summer, and the board had passed it. And I brought it up and I said, well, did we ever hear anything from anybody about this? Well, I called the visitor center. They're closed on Sunday and Monday yet. So they're open Tuesday through Saturday. So I think this is a great resolution, but I think it should be added in there that we should please let us know, send it to the legislators and let us know what you're doing about it. You know, we'd like a response. You know, we never, they just kind of blew us off. So, I'm kind of wondering, did they even look at it? So I think if we sent it to our representatives, Chance Green, he represents the southern part of Ashland County, and the other gal, she was here.
Angela Stroud.
Yeah, and maybe our senators and our state representatives, so that they would put in there that we'd like a response, maybe that'll help. So I would like to add that someplace in the motion,
Well-
in the resolution.
Okay,
It's,
technically, we need a motion first.
Okay.
I in there. We need Liz,
I'll make a motion to approve. Frantic.
Supervisor Fanik makes a motion to approve. A second?
Busse will second.
Who? Oh, George, I'm sorry. Supervisor Passay seconds it. Questions?
now, Mr.
I just-
Metzger, you can make your amendment now.
Go ahead.
This is Bill Metzinger. I'd like to amend this motion to add that we put in there that we would like to be contacted by our legislatures. So what's going on? And so I'd like to add that in there.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Yeah, so in the resolution that's there, hold on. You want something added in another paragraph that says, responses required?
Yes, we would like a response from each legislature.
Well, you're not talking about state legislators though, because this is a request of the U.S. Forest Service.
I know.
So the state legislators can't really do anything about it.
Well, and then if we got to contact the Forest Service, but the thing is, if we contact our legislatures, they would put pressure on the Forest Service to do something.
Yeah, we would, the pressure should go on our federal senators and congressmen because the Forest Service budget is what's keeping that closed.
Yeah.
So we need
Yep.
federal folks to put money into it.
Yeah, but the more people we contact, the better we got a chance of getting something done.
Right.
We sit on it and nothing happens.
Right. Okay, Mr. Vitek?
I think we should probably include our congressman in that as well. We have one someplace, I'm pretty sure, so.
Right. Mr. Passay?
I agree with Supervisor Metzinger that we ought to include our state representatives because they are in a position to put pressure on our congressional delegation. So I think it should be both federal and state. Thank you.
Okay. Liz?
Has anybody contacted the Great Lakes Visitor Center to see if they have enough to staff and if that was part of the issue?
Liz, I'm on the Friends of the Great Lakes Visitor Center board. The issue is staffing at the Forest Service. the Trump administration got rid of a whole bunch of people. So they're bringing rangers down from the Washburn station to keep it open as is, but they don't really have enough staff around here.
Okay. Mr. Kinney?
If I'm not mistaken, at least last year, Congressman Tiffany with assignments, he had a position where in the Forest Service with their budget, he was in a position to have some impact on their budget, which would directly impact staffing levels here. So in particular, I think we should get a written response from Congressman Tiffany, in part because he says he's going to reintroduce the bill to make the Apostle Islands a national park. And of course, there's a question of who's going to staff things like the visitor center. So if they want economic impact up here, it would seem one of the first things they should do is staff the visitor center rather than duplicating something else up in Bayfield.
Clarence?
I'd like to also comment on a different portion. This is maybe more semantics than anything, but the "be it further resolved" clause, to me, is more of a whereas clause. You know, it says, be it further resolved that the county board believes that keeping the visitor center open would not only help region's economy, but also help the Great Lakes Visitor Center fulfill their mission. That's not a be it further resolved clause. That's more of a whereas clause. And then that's followed up by the now therefore be it resolved that the County Board of Supervisors request that the visitor center be kept open.
Mr. Metzger?
That's a good point, Clarence. I could easily live with that.
So
So-
we want to make those types of changes plus some reference in here that all receivers of this, we would kindly like them to respond to us of what they're doing about it.
I would like to see the forestry be contacted too, whoever's in charge of that.
Okay. Okay. Okay, do we, Mr. Bissay?
I'm wondering if we should suggest tabling this resolution so that it can be brought back at the next meeting in its revised form. It's a little bit complicated in terms of the revisions.
Right, with all the changes and then that we ask every respondent to, or every receiver to respond. Mr. Metzinger?
I think we should take it as it is now, amended, because the summer is going to be gone by the time we have another meeting. And the sooner we get someone to start working on it, the sooner we're going to get something done. It's easy just to put it on the table. So I think with these amendments that we've talked about, I think we could pass it today.
But we need to reword it in the proper way.
Dan?
Okay, so I have a suggestion. If you want to turn the be it further resolved clause into a whereas clause, we can just strike the be it further resolved and insert whereas, move it up above to the last whereas clause. So it's it'd be the last whereas. And then as far as the other portion, we could add a paragraph saying, be it finally resolved that the county clerk shall forward a copy of this resolution to our state and federal legislators and the Secretary of Agriculture, or U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, and request a response from each. And U.S. Secretary of Agriculture because the Forest Service falls under the USDA.
Mr. Bissay?
Technical correction under whereas clause number 4, where it says whereas closing and it ends in regions customers. You need an apostrophe in the word regions. It's a possessive. You see that? The fourth whereas, the last 2 words, it's a regions possessive. So it needs an apostrophe.
What I'm wondering is if we could somehow get someone to edit that enough that we could look at it before we pass it. Or does everyone here feel comfortable with what we've just said is what will be in there? That it meets everyone's criteria. Mr. Kinney?
Well, keeping in mind, Congress has already sent the Senate a budget, and so delaying this leaves less opportunity for our federal legislatures to voice what they'd like in the final budget.
Okay. Well, if everyone feels comfortable with those considerations without seeing it on the board. What's that?
You want me to read it off again? So everybody has
You could, if you'd read that.
Okay, I'll just go over the amendments again, just so everybody's clear. The fourth paragraph will add an apostrophe to the regions. The fifth paragraph will be moving the "be it further resolved" clause up and striking the words "be it further resolved" and replacing it with "whereas." And then the sixth paragraph stays the same, and the seventh paragraph will be it finally resolved that the county clerk shall forward a copy of this resolution to our state and federal legislators and the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture and request a response from each.
Mr. Bissay?
Did that leave out our federal legislators? You said Department of Agriculture, but
State and federal legislators and the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture.
Good. Mr. Bissay?
looks like we have another technical correction.
There needs to be in the now therefore be it resolved, there's a missing E.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and fix the E and not therefore.
As opposed to now therefore.
Mr. Kinney?
Forgive me if I'm losing track of this, but could you go back up, further up? The second whereas.
So fix the E's. Or if you want to go into recess for 5 minutes, I can go downstairs and make all the changes and put it back on the screen.
Well, yeah, that might work, that we just postpone the motion and, or the second vote until we see it.
If you want to go to the next agenda item, I'll go downstairs and
Okay,
so
okay, so we'll come back to this. We'll table that until we get it corrected. And then on I, County Board Supervisor per diem increase request. Mr. Bissay.
Well, I speak to it because I propose that we put it on the agenda. But so we discussed this, I think, a year ago. And if we raise the per diem, it's not effective until after the next election. So we're really talking about the per diem for the folks that are going to follow some of us and the folks that we want to incent or induce or encourage to participate in this august body. So it seems it's been a long time since the per diem for Ashland County has been adjusted. And when I looked at some of our comparators, I don't know about the size of all their boards. I know that Bayfield County has a higher per diem, but a smaller board. So if we have a higher per diem, it has more of a budget impact on us. But the Douglas pays pretty high for its services of chair, et cetera. But Bayfield has a higher amount. It's $100. And the one that looked fairly reasonable to me was Price, which does 75 for a county board meeting and 50 for all other meetings. If we did that, it only costs us about $5,000 a year, so it's completely reasonable. But there's also the comment that why don't you just make it 75 for all of the board and committee meetings and keep it simple. So there's the trade-off in my mind is at least do 75 for the county board meetings and continue at 50 for committee meetings. And board meetings and committee meetings are all tracked on the county calendar, so this is easy to keep track of. But if you want to keep it a more simple version, you would just maybe make it 75 for all board and committee meetings. So leave it at that. I mean, I'm sure some people think it should be 100. I'm just not very happy with the current situation. So I would propose or that we adopt a new rate per diem of increase our existing per diem rate from 50 to 75 for the existing reasons that we grant a per diem.
And are you making a motion?
I can state that as a motion.
But, okay, so the motion is to
The
increase.
motion is to increase the per diem that we currently pay for meetings from $50 per diem to 75.
For board meeting and committee
Well,
meeting?
for whatever we pay at $50 for now, pay 75 for in the future. That's the motion.
Okay. Is there a second before we have comments? Mr. Huber?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, now comments. Mr. Campbell?
Does that then also increase the pay for a second meeting of the day from 25 to 37.50?
I don't have an answer to that. What would you suggest?
Because right now we pay, $25 for a second meeting the same day.
I would leave that alone. But you could make it half. You could, yeah, it would make sense.
That was just the question.
Increase it to 37.50, which 50% of the first meeting.
So that's a correction to your motion.
Yeah, because I hadn't taken that in consideration.
Mr. Huber, do you agree with that as a second?
Yes, I'll still second the motion.
Okay. The only question I have is, you briefly mentioned the county board meetings at the higher rate. Do we have some sense of, if we went to that 75 for all committee meetings, what additional budget impact that would have?
I think that's probably a fair amount more. That's probably going to add another $10,000. Because, if you have 10 county board meetings a year and add 21 people at an extra $25, that's around 5,000. But we have a fair number of committee meetings during the course of the year. So I'm guessing that to include the committee meetings probably means we're adding maybe $15,000 in total. I hadn't calculated it, but that's a pretty good estimate, I think.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes?
you guys know where I'm gonna come on this. The first thing is the two boards that you're comparing it to both have 13 members. So they are doing more work in more committees than what we were doing with 21 people. If we want to make people interested in being on the county board, we'll move the meetings to where most of the population can actually attend the meetings. This is public service. Our $50 and our $25 are on par with every other county board that is our size for the meetings that we've got. So I'm not in favor of this change.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Pufall?
Yeah, Clarence, you've been on the board probably longer than anybody here. Can you remember when has it been $50 forever?
It's been a long time. I mean, when I first
30 years?
when I first got on the county board, it was 35, I think.
Pardon?
When I first came on the county board in 96, it was $35 a meeting, but I'm going to say it's probably been 20 years since we raised it to 50.
Well, I don't know where else you can find a job where the progression is so bad. I realize that this is really a bad time economically for us to be looking for more money, and I'm not going to be here that much longer anyway, but I think it's in order that we raise this a little bit. probably not to attract new people as much as to retain people. I mean, I've sat through 3-hour meetings for $50. Could have went to McDonald's and made more money.
Miss,
I agree with what Laura said. I think that this is public service, and to look at what we get paid, I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily a consideration. I was encouraged to run for the county board by Caroline Sandin. Some of you may remember her. She was retiring or coming off the county board, and she made the comment when she was talking about the pay that we received. She says, some of them are on the county board. That's the only reason they're on the county board is for the pay. And she said, you know, she made the comment saying that that's not why you run for county board is because of what you get paid.
It's funny, Clarence, jobs are like that.
hey, Mr. Metzger,
I'm done.
Was the county board pay addressed at all in the wage study that we had? We just had a wage study less than a year ago.
I don't think so. I'm sure it was looking at employees.
Full-time?
Yep.
Or part-time?
Mr. Kinney?
In Bayfield County, they downsized the board, but what that means is each board member is going to have to be on more committees. So the question to me is pay per committee meeting that you attend. So if you want to be in the board in Bayfield County, you better be prepared to go to more meetings than what we do. I looked up at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics on their inflation calculator. And I remember Clarence saying last year, since 2005, the last time a raise, according to that CPI calculator, a dollar then at the rate of inflation is $1.68 today. In other words, we've had 68% inflation since 2005. The proposal to $75 would be a 50% increase, which would still lag the inflation rate since 2005. In other words, $75 now would still be adjusted for inflation less than what the pay then was at. I also think about last year, at least, we were last in the state on net new construction, which is new construction that goes on the tax roll, less whatever, you know, buildings went away that were on the tax roll. Usually we're second to the lowest in the state. So last year we could only raise the general levy 0.59%. So we can't increase taxes which are used for wages and benefits very much because of our lack of net new construction. A few years ago, I had asked for data on employee wage increases over the previous decade. We're doing 2.5% now, which is still lagging inflation for employees. But prior to then, we had really lagged as a county, keeping employee wages up with inflation. So, you know, there's arguments for and against the wage increase for the board. It's not unreasonable when you look at inflation, but we're also in a situation where, you know, employees have lagged too, and it's just our economy.
Yes, I'd like to kind of go with that, you know, that the wage, it's $50, but and people are not here for the money, but some people, that's the time that they put in. There's a lot of committees you don't get paid for. So maybe, you know, we're going to be losing some board members, and somebody out there will say, well, $50 is not worth my time if they have to travel. Mind you, I have a job that I don't make enough, you know, to run. I mean, okay, I just want to restate that. My job lets me have days off where I can go to meetings. How many other jobs do? Now, if I would quit my job and pursue something that was in my degree that I went to college for, I'm not sure I'd have the time to sit on boards and be on this board. And it is very valuable for me to sit on this board being a member of the community that has the job in retail and restaurant service, that I'm a common person that people can relate to. I believe that $50 right now is not that much to anybody. It is nice to have it, but if anybody else in the future is thinking about running, if they're saying $50 is what they're gonna be getting for a 3-hour meeting or 2-hour meeting or whatever, but there's other meetings you don't get paid for. If it was worth them giving half a day of pay to sit on a board, that's where I'm getting at. Thank you.
Just like to add 2 points to the conversation. One is that paying an economically appropriate per diem does not nullify the fact that we're all here for public service, nor that others will be here for public service. That's still, I'm sure, probably the primary goal of all of us. But it doesn't mean that you leave the per diem at an inappropriate level. Secondly, the next agenda item, I'm going to be asking everyone here to please participate in some subcommittee working groups for which there is no per diem, which is just an example of the extra hours that we voluntarily put into this effort. Preparing for a meeting, if it's a 2-hour meeting that we have here, you probably spend 2 hours preparing for it, an hour of travel. So I just think an appropriate per diem does not nullify the fact that we're here for public service.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Chair?
Yes?
So there was some reference to other counties and appropriate per diems. As we were going through, I looked through the piece of information that was in the packet. Douglas County does $35 a meeting. Juneau County, $50. Crawford County, $50. Marinette County, $50. Dodge is $60. I don't know how many they have on their board though. Greene County, $40. Jackson County, $10. Let's see. Florence County, $40. Jefferson County, $65. Forest County, $40. Door County, $25 for hearings in addition, but there are more full-time supervisors. We don't have that. Sheboygan County, $35. Eau Claire County, $35. Rock, $50. Shawano, $80. Bayfield County is $75, but again, there's only 13 of them, so they take on more people and more committees. $40 for Rusk County. We're on par. Again, there's a lot of things and choices that everybody can make. Yes, there's sometimes I miss meetings too because I have to take care of other things at work, but we make those choices. And the $50 is just how much we get per meeting. Isn't it 66 cents a mile for anyone who has to travel? So us in the city don't have that, which is no big deal, but people that are traveling, because that has been brought up more than once, they actually get mileage. So it's not just $50 a meeting, it's $50 a meeting plus mileage. And that's to the meeting and back if I'm not misunderstanding how that works. So it's not just $50 a meeting, it's more for some. So when those commitments are thought of, there's those kinds of things.
Thank you, Laura. Mr. Passay?
Just a bit of rebuttal. That was incorrect about Bayfield County. It's $100 for a county board meeting. It's in the chart. The $75 is for other meetings that are less than 4 hours and $100 for meetings that are over 4 hours. We can cherry pick this list and pick the highs or the lows. I think Price County is a pretty good example, and they pay $75 for a board meeting and $50 for a committee meeting. I'd be satisfied with that lesser amount unless people are comfortable with $75 for all meetings. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? When we get to this, we're going to do a roll call vote. And I'll explain my position, which is just for me. I respect everyone's vote. I personally would vote no simply because I've got 63 years of elected office and I've never done any of it for the money, but that's me. I respect everybody else's wishes, and however it goes, it goes. I can live with either way, but I just want people to know ahead of time that it's not anything pro or con. It's just that's my feeling. I've never done this for the money. I've never been able to explain that to my wife, but that's my business. So anyways, we're going to do a roll call vote. Mr. Puval?
Last year about this time, we had a Northwest Regional meeting in Hayward, an annual meeting. And that's when Kathy Schutte was the alternate when I was the chairman. And she brought up a proposal that we increase the rate for all Northwest Regional meetings. I didn't think it would fly, but unbelievably it did. And it was almost unanimous. They raised it per diem from $50 to $100. I'm not suggesting that we raise it that high, but what I'm saying is that there's very little turnover on the Northwest Regional Board. It's usually death or close to it that takes the person off of that board. And there's a reason for that. I guess I have a question for Dan. What do you think we can afford?
I don't think money is an issue. I think it's everybody's personal opinion that's the issue. I don't have a position on the issue. This is completely your decision. I will make a point about the state constitution that if you do agree, capital if you do agree to do this, to raise your wages, it will not take effect until after the next elections. So not until after the spring 26 elections would this take effect.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Laura had gone through the list of payments that people are getting now. And I read that through. I don't know that we want to be the lowest paid one on the totem pole. Just an example, I think Iron County is $40. They also have a very hard time keeping people on that Iron County board. There's a reason for that. And historically, these meetings, when I was chairman for 5 years, I guess it was, were probably an hour and a half, roughly. Very, very seldom do they go over 2 hours unless we have presentations and stuff going on. But I'm going to support this. George's recommendation was 75 and 75 for all meetings. Is that right, George?
That's the motion that's on the floor.
Well, I know the timing of this is bad with everything that's going on nationally and locally, but 30 years in the same rate is a long, long time. And we have quite a few new members here in the last 2 years to 4 years. And there's got to be some kind of incentive to get people to stay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Chair? Chair?
Mr. Passay?
I just finally like to remind us that we're not doing this for ourselves. We're doing this for the future. And at this point, I'd like to call the question.
Okay, there's a motion to call the question. Is there a second? Mr. Huber?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to call the question. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, now just so everybody's sure, and we'll do roll call. The motion, Heather, as proposed.
Motion to increase per diem from $50 to $75 for county board and committee meetings, and second meeting of the day from $25 to $37.50.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded to increase the per diem starting next April to $75 for all board members and meetings, board meeting and committee meetings. And then the half day. Right, doesn't take effect until after the election in April of next year. Okay. So roll call.
Hufall,
Yes.
Frantic,
Yes.
Willarm,
No.
Fendor,
Yes.
Reamer,
Yes.
Busse,
Yes.
Vitek,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Ader. I don't know if he's still online. Gary Ader. Mindell,
Yes.
Murdig,
No.
Trudeau,
Yes.
Negro,
Nope.
Metzinger,
No.
Campbell,
No.
Kinney,
No.
ten yes, 6 no. Pass.
Thank you. Motion carried. Okay, now we're gonna go back to item H, the resolution supporting the David Obey Great Lakes Visitor Center. And we should have the, Heather will bring it up in a moment. We still have a motion and a second, so if everybody sees what we agreed to put in there. Does anybody have any questions on anything is it look presentable? Bill? Mr. Messinger?
I think it's great.
Okay. Correct.
Can we just approve it?
Yeah, can we just switch it around and then,
We'll have this fixed.
thank you very much, Heather. Okay. Mr. Messinger?
That's, I have no problem with that.
Thank you. Okay, so we do have a motion and a second to approve the revised version. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Can we have a roll call?
We can. Heather, roll call?
Frantic,
Yes.
Wilharm,
Yes.
Sendor,
Yes.
Reimer, Busse, Vitek,
Yes.
Huber,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Ader, Mindell,
Yes.
Murdig,
Yes.
Trudeau,
Yes.
Negro,
No,
Metzinger,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Kinney,
Yes.
Kufal,
Yes.
15 yes, 1 no.
Thank you. Okay. Item J, Planning Committee update and, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Messinger.
Now that this is passed, I'd like a copy of this sent to Bayfield County, and Bayfield County passed the same thing.
I was planning on sending a copy tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank you. Okay, now J, Planning Committee update and board comments. Mr. Busse?
Okay, there are a couple of pages included in the package. And the first one is titled Ashland County Comprehensive Plan Project. Look at this. Okay, so if you could scroll that down so we can see the bottom left-hand quadrant, because that's where we want to look there. So the bottom left-hand quadrant, I'm sorry, this is kind of a busy page, but it's intended to show you how we are going to attack the requirements for the comprehensive plan in development into the different elements that are required by statute. So there are a couple elements where in assigning members of the committee to do the research that group together better than the way the state grouped them into statutory requirements. So this is just designed to show you that the way we have grouped our research subgroups and working groups meets the state statutory requirements. Now, so if you look in this bottom left-hand quadrant, you'll see that we have assigned different members of the planning committee to different elements for the research on this project. And the efforts here are primarily to determine what people in the county are looking forward to having, what their issues are, and what their inputs might be. A lot of the data work will be done by Northwest Regional Planning. So Charlie Ortman is in charge of the intergovernmental element. Lisa Radke is in charge of trends and issues. Gary is in charge of economics, development, and land use. Pat Kinney is responsible for agriculture, forestry, and natural resources. Liz Franick is responsible for cultural resources and community facilities. I have utilities and transportation, and Brad Ray has housing. So that's the organization of the subcommittees or working groups of the planning committee to divide the labor of collecting this information. So the second piece of paper here that you have, and I think was put on everybody's desktop, says request for county board members' participation in comprehensive plan development. So this is my request of all of the members of the board. It is requested that each county board member participate in at least one of the comprehensive plan element subcommittee working groups. Now, we're all assigned to different committees of the county, so some of us have natural connection to those subject matters. So if you're on the highway committee, you have a natural connection to working on having something to say about transportation. And it goes on in that same kind of pattern. So it is also requested that for each county appointed chair, board member, or county liaison, which is us on our county committees assignments. We all have our committee assignments. So we're all on these different committees and different boards. And the request is, this has a reason, but it is to have included in the meeting agendas of those bodies discussion during this year, 2025, discussion of the comprehensive plan considerations, and that the discussions be documented in the minutes of those meetings. The minutes of the meetings will then serve as input to the comprehensive plan development. So for instance, I had an Aging and Disabilities Resource Council meeting this week, and I requested that they put on the agenda for the next meeting of that 5-county consortium discussion of issues, ideas, opportunities that group sees that they would like included in the comprehensive plan. And it's an easy thing to do because they can put it on their agenda and therefore it has public notice because it's in a published agenda, and they can document it in their minutes, and all they have to do is provide the minutes of the meeting, which includes their discussion. So they should include a second public comment period in their agenda limited to the comprehensive plan inputs and added the following the committee discussion. And that will serve to meet our statutory requirement for public input. So if in your committee meeting, you have an agenda item published that you're going to talk about the comprehensive plan, you have the discussion, and at the end of your agenda, you have a chance for the public to comment on that discussion. That meets our statutory requirement for public input, and the publication of the agenda a week prior to the meeting meets our notification requirements. So we're collecting our information in a very easy way, and we are satisfying our requirement under law to include the public input. So down at the bottom of this is simply agenda, an example of how you would do that, and how you would include that in the agenda of a meeting. And all you have to do is request that it be included in the agenda of the committee or board or commission that you're working with. And then if you are participating in one of the subcommittees of the planning process, you bring that information also back into the process with very little extraneous or extra effort. So I asked that of the Aging and Resource Disability Center this week. About a week ago, I went to the Harbor Commission here in Ashland because my area is transportation. And I requested that the Harbor Commission put that agenda item on their next agenda so that they can give us their input for their thoughts about what should go into the comprehensive plan. So those are the requests from the Planning Committee. And I hope you all be able to participate, because in the end, we all together have to approve this comprehensive plan. And this will help everybody have a better confidence in the plan, that there's more than just a few members of a planning committee putting this together. So I'm happy to hear any thoughts about that. There's no motion to be made. It's simply a point of information.
Dan?
I just want to point out that if the planning committee is on your agenda, the public should be allowed to speak at either public comment on that item, since it is an agenda item.
Mr. Paget?
Just add a subsidiary comment. If you read the Ashland Daily Press today, you'll see there's a notice inviting the public to our planning committee meetings to invite their public comment at that time as well. That's going into the Daily Press today, and I think a couple other publications around the county during the course of the month.
Thank you. Mr. Kinney?
What Mr. Bousset spoke to, in part or large part, addresses the statutory requirements for doing this. I've got the forestry and ag sections. For example, if anybody's got some thoughts on topics or issues or concerns related to forestry or ag, always feel free to contact me and, share those thoughts and stuff, so we can either get it on a committee agenda, say the forestry or land and water conservation, so that we have those ideas, those thoughts to work with, so that this isn't a one-time, thing. So like forestry's got a meeting in early June, it's on there. But if things come up after that, let me know. I did the forest adaptation class online this winter because things are changing with our forests, and amazingly fast. I've got forests and I'm trying to, get more trees going, and it's harder than it used to be. So, forestry, for example, you'll have that discussion, and I know you've got a forestry plan, but the comp plan is going to be shorter and more brief, but also forward-looking. And as you think of the forestry, think about the trails, and do we add more parks? There's some ties there for quality of life, economic development. So some of those things that maybe you want to flesh out or think we should look more at, let us know what those things are, so that we can include those more. And on the ag piece, we're working on the farmland preservation piece right now. If there's things related to that come to mind, let me know, and we'll get it somewhere on an agenda, because we have until the end of 2026 to approve the comp plans. We got lots of time to come back and revisit things. And then the next zoning committee meeting, one of the things we have on the agenda there, it came up because of farmland preservation discussion, is the state will allow us, if I understand things correctly, to change the county statute on how large a parcel you need to build. Right now, it's at 5 acres. We could make that smaller if we chose to as a county, and I'm not sure yet where the townships fit in on if they have to approve it. but making those parcels smaller may be a one way of preserving more farmland and wooded land so that people aren't taking 5 acres at a crack, to build on and make it smaller. So if any of these sort of things come up, let us know. This isn't a one-time thing on an agenda, meets the statutory requirement, but we want to keep having these conversations as we work through the plan to get more input.
Mr. Passay?
Just another reminder is that we are required, as my understanding, we're required by law in the years ahead during the period of this plan, which reaches out 10 years and even beyond, that the ordinances or activities that are approved by this board are required to be consistent with our comprehensive plan. And so the way we set up the comprehensive plan is actually fairly significant.
Any other questions? It's information only at this point. If not, county board meeting dates.
This is Metzinger.
Mr. Metzinger?
We talked about, there's been several people that, me included, that have had problems attending meetings because we never know when they are. And we have to make doctor's appointments and we got our other lives going on. And what we had talked about, and it kind of been passed on to county board and get their opinion. But if we had a county board meeting a certain time, I'm on the forestry committee and the highway committee, and they have a set date when they meet. And if there's not enough item actions to be taken, they just postpone the meeting. So what I would like to see is have the county board meetings, if we're going to have one, have it a certain time of the month, like the third Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday, and then if there's not enough going on, cancel. And like for doctor's appointments and stuff, if there's certain days, just stay away from, like if we have the county board meeting on Tuesday, like the fourth Tuesday of the month, and in the morning, we know what time it is and everybody can make it. There's been a couple meetings that there was a forestry meeting that we didn't have a quorum. Okay, so we don't want that to happen, and I hate missing any type of meeting. And this way it would be better that we not miss meetings and know ahead of time. So I don't know what the rest of the board thinks. I would like to set the date for the county board meeting like the third or fourth Tuesday of the month.
Mr. Vitek?
Bill's right. I think that having the certainty of a date for a meeting, then you can schedule your personal stuff around that. And simplify, for me anyway, it would simplify things a lot.
Mr. Kinney?
I would very much appreciate that not only board meetings, but committee meetings all have a date penciled in at least 3 months out. At least 3 months, preferably 6. I have more than a few times rearranged a bunch of stuff, which sometimes inconveniences other people, so I can make the board or committee meetings. That inconvenience, sometimes turns into kind of a inconvenience for other people too as you reschedule. And I've never understood why we can't pencil in dates and times at least 3 to 6 months out, and then have the meeting if we need to and not have it if we don't need to. So I would fully support firm dates.
It's up to this body. Miss. Is this a motion? Okay, motion's been made to set, and obviously if there's nothing for the agenda, we would do like committee meetings, we would cancel in advance. But we would set it up for the fourth Tuesday of each month for a county board meeting? Mr. Metzinger?
I would second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion? Liz?
Why not Thursday? Or is this just a special day?
Yeah, right. And hold on, before we amend that, if we are going to or not, uh, not only would we have times when we would cancel because of lack of agenda items, but we may have to schedule a county board meeting when we have something that has to go out before that date. And if that happens, it wouldn't be any different than we do now, but we could set a specific date. So the original motion was the fourth Tuesday. Mr. Huber?
Yes, I think when I started the board, it was the third Thursday of the month for the county board meetings. So sounds good to me.
I hope we're not changing it. This is Laura. I've been planning on Tuesdays for like since 2019.
Mr. Passay?
Well, just looking at the calendar for this year's fourth Thursday is both Thanksgiving and Christmas, so take a choice.
Okay, Mr. Kinney?
Well, I was going to say, you've got Thanksgiving and Christmas pops up, but we've also got Memorial Day, kind of pops up. What I would suggest is what the city of Ashland does actually is they have a calendar approved usually at their last meeting in the year for the coming year. So in December, here's a proposed calendar coming. That way you can deal with Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We also need to pass a budget and notice on that. So staff could put together a proposed calendar, and to the extent whatever the body prefers on third or fourth, Tuesdays, that sort of thing. But then some wiggle room on Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and budget season. And then this gets approved, by this body so that it's penciled in for that year. We could
Okay.
still do it for the remainder of this year and then just do that going forward.
So potentially we could have a motion that for the balance of this year, we set it on a specific date. And then towards the end of the year, we look ahead to the new year calendar and set it for that. So now I have to go back because the original motion was the fourth Tuesday, and we had a second. Is there any revision to that, Mr. Metzinger?
I love that date because then you can, if you're making any appointments, you can put it in. So I think the fourth Tuesday works better than a Thursday. But it's good to point out that Christmas and Thanksgiving. So I would keep my same second.
Right. Yeah, and again, committees can set their meetings whenever they want, time-wise also. So currently, the motion is the fourth Tuesday. Motion's been made and seconded to put the county board meetings on the fourth Tuesday of the month. Any other discussion? Mr. Metzinger?
I think we need a roll call vote.
Well,
Might be some people opposed to that date.
they can vote no.
What?
They can vote no.
Correct.
And the chair will recognize if the noes have it.
Correct.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to use the fourth Tuesday of each month as a county board meeting date for the balance of 2025. Mr. Vitek,
Just to clarify, is this just the county board or is it the committees?
just county board.
But you were saying that the committees.
The committees can, on their own, can set their time and dates as they choose. And, as it's been in the past, if
Okay.
a committee wants to set a different date or a different time, that's up to the committees.
All right.
Okay, so we'll get back to this. Motion been made and seconded to have the fourth Tuesday of each month for the county board meeting for the balance of 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it. Okay, thank you. And just a comment. There had been, and we'll talk about it in the future, there have been discussions about the time of the county board meeting. that's a whole nother discussion. And if that comes up at some future meeting, we can discuss it, but I've had some people ask about changing the time. But we'll, if it's requested, we'll talk about that in the future. Okay. Administrator report.
Okay, I just got a few things. One, space needs study is going along. They met with staff a couple weeks ago, presented 7 different options for all the department heads to look at and consider. We'll be having another meeting probably in a week or two with everybody, try to narrow down those options for the board. 2 capital budgets are due in from departments at the end of this week. So finance committee will be able to start looking at those next month if they just want to. And you might notice some trees were cut down in the courtyard in front of the courthouse. They were infested with beetles, and the woodpeckers were going after them and killing them. So we did have a professional tree service come out, and they recommended cutting them down. The stumps will be ground down. I believe it's next week. There's going to be no meetings in this building starting the June 16th, I believe it is, until after Independence Day. That's when the elevator is scheduled to be repaired. The repair itself is only going to take a couple days, but getting the elevator inspector here is going to take a few weeks. So we did align that schedule with the courts so that there's no jury trials going on during that time period. Other than that, we can expect next county board meeting June 24th at 9 a.m.
Will that be outside the elevator?
Oh, you're right. That's right. So we can expect the next county board meeting to be July 29th. Unless something comes up. And if something does come up, the clerk's office will call everybody up.
Well,
and let them.
July would be the 22nd, fourth Tuesday.
Fourth. Yeah, 22nd. There's 5
22nd.
Tuesdays in July.
And then I will warn everyone that in September, it will not be the 23rd of September because the county association meeting is ending that day. So that county board meeting will have to move to a different date, but we'll look at that when we get closer.
Yeah. And then finally, last call for the counties association convention. Heather, room block opens up tomorrow or Monday?
Monday.
So the rooms blocks open up on Monday. They fill fast. So if you want to go to the convention, please see the clerk after the meeting.
Okay.
Pat.
Mr. Kinney?
With the board setting the 4th Tuesday for board meetings, committees can decide when they set those meetings, but for staff in preparing county board packets, and I'm thinking of the dark side resolution in particular, just the whole timing of that, it got so late. How far in advance of a board meeting does staff need anything coming from committees to get it on the board agenda?
The drop dead date would be a week before, but earlier, much earlier is better.
Because I think it would be good to put in writing a guideline for committees, chairs of committees, department heads of the time process so that they know how far in advance they have to get information to staff to get it on the board agenda. That way, as they schedule committee meetings, they can say, okay, if I want this on the next board agenda on that last or that 4th Tuesday, we need to have a meeting by a certain date so we can get that on the board agenda so that there's that flow to get things on this agenda, because the dark sky just really fell through all the cracks there were on
Yeah.
delay.
Okay, Liz?
Are there any, because of Northland closing, are there any updates on what is being done to close and security wise for the campus?
There are no updates. Northland College is not divulging any information. They're supposed to have any information they disclose will be on their website.
Mr. Campbell?
I do know that everything is going to be closed down as of the end of the week. As far as buildings are going to be locked up and that kind of thing. And all the professors and have to have their individual items removed by that date.
Yeah, so tomorrow is the last day of employment for all but a handful of people. There are going to be a couple people there to help with what, I mean, the lawn still needs to be mowed and the utilities still have to be paid and all that, and they are doing an assessment or an appraisal of the property for sale at some later date, but there's no word on that.
Liz?
One more comment, today, I think it's 10 till 5, that they're still selling Dexter Library books for $2 a piece. And then 3 to 5 tonight, I believe it's the greenhouse.
Thank you. No more admin update. Any county board updates? Otherwise, we need the famous motion of the day. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Poofall.
Yeah, I just want to know if I could bring something back, board comments. I'd like to know how many people around the room here are able to hear every word of these proceedings. We have a lousy sound system here. And with the speaker system, if you're a foot away, it's not picking it up. I think that should be addressed. It doesn't make any sense to sit here and listen to people ramble on when you don't have a clue what they're saying. And I know I have a hearing deficit, I understand that. But I also got hearing aids. And it's crazy because with the monotone voice that Dan has, if I do a virtual meeting, I hear every word. And
Use the microphone.
pardon?
It's because I use the microphone. I could
Yeah,
tell
I
you,
should stay home all the time.
I could tell you, the IT capital request, which came in yesterday, there is in 2027, she's requesting an upgrade in the sound and video system in this room for 27. But Finance Committee can certainly make that for next year for the upcoming budget request.
27?
Yeah,
You know how
so
old I am?
that's the schedule she has it at.
The-
But
put
that
the
doesn't
brakes
mean
on.
Finance Committee can't move that request to the next budget.
And I don't know if it would offend anybody, but I have been in other board rooms and we have the capability of headphones.
That's what I was gonna ask too. I
Yeah.
thought there was a capability of plugging in, but that means everybody'd have to use their mic.
Correct. Yeah. And like you say, I have seen other board meetings where several members have used it. And no offense to the administrator, but I'm sitting right next to him and there are times that I don't hear him.
I think he planned it that way.
Okay, Mr. Vitek.
I've been having trouble hearing for a long time, but I do know that when I watch these meetings on YouTube, they're clear as a bell, so
Yeah.
it can be done.
Yeah. Good, thank you. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Sindor,
Ron will make a motion, we adjourn.
Makes a motion. Mr. Huber,
This is Huber, I'll second it.
motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Last year, it might be just as simple as getting better.
He says, as of,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
he said they are not
a
gonna.
lot of times that.
After May.
So.
He's done